At 79, Barry Gibb finally tells the truth about Cliff Richard. Barry Gibb was born Barry Allen Crompton Gibb on September 1, 1946, in Douglas in the Isle of Man. He was the second of 5 kids in the super musical Gibb family. His parents, Hugh and Barbara Gibb, created a home where creativity and music were everywhere, helping shape Barry's early love for melody and harmony. From when he was really young, Barry showed an amazing ability to write songs that mixed real emotion with complicated structure, a talent that would shape his career for over 6 decades. When the Gibb family moved to Manchester, England, and later Tordcliffe, Queensland, Australia, Barry's musical dreams grew stronger, coming to life alongside his younger twin brothers, Maurice and Robin. The start of the Bee Gees was nothing short of meant to be. In the late 1950s, Barry, Robin, and Maurice began performing together, creating their special harmonies and unique vocal sound that would later amaze the world. At first performing in small Australian places. The trio's big break came in the mid-1960s when they got the attention of popular DJ Bill Gates and producer Robert Stigwood, who brought them Toneland. From there, their rise was super fast. The Bee Gees became known for chart-topping hits that crossed genres, from the gentle love songs of the 1960s like To Love Somebody and Massachusetts to the groundbreaking disco songs oft 1970 seconds such as Staying Alive, Night Fever, and How Deep Is Your Love. Barry, as the oldest brother and the creative editor, was key in creating the group's sound. His falsetto became infamous, his songwriting timeless, and his production techniques revolutionary. The 1970 seconds marked Barry Gibb's golden time as he helped bring in the disco revolution that changed the global music scene. The Bee Gees' contribution to the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack became one of the best-selling albums of all time, earning them Grammy Awards and making their legacy as cultural icons permanent. Beyond his success with the Bee Gees, Barry's talents reached far beyond the trio. He wrote and produced hits for a bunch of artists, including Barbra Streisand, Guilty, Diana Ross, Chain Reaction, and Kenny Rogers, and Dolly Parton, Islands in the Stream. His incredible ability to adjust to changing musical trends while keeping the emotional heart of his songs made him one of the most versatile people in music history. However, Barry's journey was not without its share of heartbreak and hardship. The deaths of his brothers, Andy in 1988, Maurice in 2003, and Robin in 2012, left deep emotional wounds. Each loss meant not only the passing of a family member, but also the fading of a creative connection that had shaped his center life. Despite these tragedies, Barry carried honoring their memory through his continued dedication to music. His latter solo works, such as In the Now 2016, show a more thoughtful and personal side of his artistry, revealing the depth of his emotions and the wisdom of a man who has seen both unbelievable blessings and deep loss. Barry has often talked about feeling the presence of his brothers while performing, suggesting that his connection with them goes beyond death, a bond forever sealed through song. Barry Gibb's legacy in the music industry is impossible to measure. As one of the few artists to have written or co-written 16 #1 hits in the United States, his influence stretches across generations and genres. He has been put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and knighted by Queen Elizabeth II in 2018 for his services to music and charity, an honor that shows not only his artistic excellence, but also his humanitarian spirit. His distinctive, heartfelt lyrics and soulful performance continue to inspire countless musicians and songwriters around the world. Barry Gibb's romantic life has been as eventful and lasting as his legendary career, beginning with his first marriage to Maureen Bates and later finding lifelong companionship with Linda Gray, his devoted wife of more than 5 decades. Each relationship marked a big chapter in his personal growth, reflecting the challenges of fame, the power of love, and the stability that ultimately allowed him to succeed. As both a man and an artist, Barry Gibb married Maureen Bates in 1966, at a time when he was still a young man on the edge of worldwide stardom. The Bee Gees were in their early stages of forming, and Barry was balancing the pressures of an emerging music career with the responsibilities of marriage. Maureen, by most accounts, provided emotional support and comfort during those uncertain early years when the Gibb brothers were still struggling to make a name for themselves. The two shared a modest and private life away from the spotlight of show business, however. As fame began to reshape Barry's world, the demands of his quickly rising career naturally placed stress on their relationship. Few whirlwind of touring, recording and public attention made it really difficult for the young couple to keep a sense of normal life. After 4 years together, their marriage ended in divorce in 1970. Though their time together was brief, it represented a crucial stage in Barry's life, a time of self-discovery and the emotional growing pains that came with entering adulthood under the bright lights of fame. His marriage to Maureen, while not lasting, taught him valuable lessons about love, loyalty, and the sacrifices that often come with success. That same year, fate stepped in the most important way when Barry met Linda Gray, the woman who would become not only his wife, but also his anchor through decades of triumph and tragedy. Linda, a former Miss Edinburgh and a Scottish beauty queen, had a quiet strength and grace that immediately captured Barry's heart. The two met during Thebbie's amazing rise in the early 1970s, a time when the brothers were transforming from promising pop artists into international sensations. Barry was instantly drawn to Linda's poise and down-to-earth nature, which provided a refreshing contrast to the chaos and glamour of the entertainment world. Their romance grew quickly, and by September 1, 1970, they were married, a union that would become one of the most lasting and admired marriages in show business history. Throughout their marriage, Linda Gray became the steady foundation upon which Barry built his life. She was not only his partner in love but also his emotional safe place, helping him handle the pressures of fame, the intensity of family relationships, and the creative demands of maintaining Thebbie's extraordinary legacy. Together, they built a family that reflected the depth of their bond, raising 5 children: Stephen, Ashley, Travis, Michael, and Alexandra. Their home life, though occasionally touched by the struggles of fame and loss, was deeply rooted in love, mutual respect, and spiritual connection. Linda stood by Barry through every major change, from the Bee Gees' dazzling success in the disco era to the heartbreaking loss of his brothers Maurice and Robin. She remained steady during his battles with exhaustion, grief, and the emotional weight of outliving the siblings who had shared his musical journey. In interviews, Barry has often said that Linda saved him emotionally and spiritually. He has spoken openly about how her unwavering love grounded him and gave him the strength to keep going when his world seemed to fall apart. "Linda is my rock," he once said, emphasizing that their loyalty and devotion kept him from losing himself in fame's darker temptations. While many celebrity marriages have faded under the weight of pressure and public watching, Barry and Linda's union lasted, a rare example of genuine partnership in an industry known for short relationships. Their love story, which began more than half a century ago, continues to thrive as they enjoy their later years together in relative peace, often retreating to their home in Miami, surrounded by family and memories. After decades of friendship, admiration, and occasional distance, Barry Gibb has finally opened up about his true feelings toward British pop legend Cliff Richard. Now 79 years old, the last surviving Bee Gear reflected with honesty and emotion on a relationship that has lasted more than half a century in the ever-changing world of music. For years, fans have wondered about the nature of their friendship. Two of the most influential Elvises in pop history whose careers often crossed paths but whose personalities seem to live in different musical worlds. Barry, never one to speak without thinking, hashes in this moment in his life to finally share the truth about what Cliff Richard really meant to him and how their paths shaped one another. Cliff was one of the first artists who made me believe that you could be decent and famous at the same time. Barry began reflecting on their early meetings during the swinging 60 seconds. At a time when many artists were caught up in the chase of fame, Cliff's grace, humility, and unwavering moral compass stood out. He never lost his faith, even when Thebbie's tried to break him. I respected that. For Barry, who had seen firsthand the temptations and tragedies that came with superstardom, Cliff's steadiness was something rare, a kind of quiet rebellion against the darker side of show business. Barry also remembered how Cliff's success paved the way for British artists like himself and his brothers to dream bigger. When we were still trying to find our sound, Cliff had already conquered the charts. He showed us that you didn't have to be American to make it big. You could be from England or from anywhere and the world would still listen. This acknowledgement carry a special meaning as the Bee Gees themselves would later become global icons, helping to define not just pop and disco music but a cultural era. In Barry's view, Cliff Richard's early success helped tear down the barriers that once separated British musicians from the international stage. Yet Barry's revelations weren't just about admiration. He also addressed the quiet distance that grew between them over the years, a divide that puzzled many observers. We weren't the kind of friends who called each other every day, but whenever we met, there was always respect. Sometimes life just takes you in different directions. He spoke of how Bee Gees' rise to fame in the 1970s with hits like Staying Alive and how deep is your love placed him in a whirlwind of touring, recording and media friends that made personal relationships difficult to maintain. When you're on top of the world, you think you have a time for everyone, but fame moves faster than friendship. Still, Gibb made it clear that his admiration for Cliff Richard never faded. What I've always admired most about Cliff is that he stayed true to himself. He didn't follow trends. He made high sound. Even when the world made fun of him for being clean-cut or religious, he stood tall. That takes courage. Barry's words carried the tone of a man who understood all too well the cost of being real in an industry built on image and reinvention. He hinted that Cliff's ability to balance fame with faith was something he envied, calling him a man who never let the stage shine his soul. In a particularly touching moment, Barry reflected on the bond of survival that unites artists of their generation. We've both seen friends go too soon. Maurice, Robin, Andy, all my brothers, they were my life. And Cliff has lost people too. When you've been in this business as long as we have, you realize that just surviving it is a miracle. His voice filled with quiet sadness turned reflective. Cliff's still here, still singing, still smiling. Fast strength. That's faith in motion. Gibb's comments also revealed a deeper sense of kinship rooted in endurance and legacy. We're both from an era where music came from the heart, not the machine. What I love about Cliff is that he still believes in melody, in lyrics that mean something. That's rare today. He described how the two occasionalizing notes of encouragement over the years and how seeing Cliff continue to tour inspired him to keep performing even after the loss of his brothers. In the end, Barry's truth about Cliff Richard wasn't about controversy or confession. It was about gratitude. It was the heartfelt acknowledgement of one legend to another, born from decades of silent respect. People always want drama, but the truth is simpler. Cliff's a good man, one oft best. He never gave up and he never gave in. That's what I'll always admire about him. At 79, Barry Gibb speaks not as a superstar chasing headlines, but as a survivor, paying tribute to a peer who shares his rare understanding of the highs and lows of fame. His words remind us that behind the bright lights and screaming fans, there exists a quiet brotherhood of artists who endured, evolved, and remained true to their hearts. For Barry Gibb, telling the truth about Cliff Richard was not an act of revelation. It was an act of love, respect, and timeless appreciation for a man who, like him, never stopped believing in the power of music.